Aikaterina lifted her face to the soft, fluffy flakes of snow. In her current form, she could only sense what they might feel like. Her species could take on a multitude of forms, allowing them to observe the thousands of species that lived throughout the multiverses. Currently, she was more like the mist that made up the ice crystals that coated the trees and ground than the physical form that made up humans here on Earth. Her form shimmered, almost disappearing for a moment. She focused, pulling the energy surrounding her closer to keep from fading completely away. She was dying. At least, dying in the way most species would think of it. Her kind did not think of death in the same way. They simply no longer existed. They returned to the energy of the stars from which they were created. I've lived for trillions of years, but it seems like a blink of an eye. There is still so much I wish to see, to observe, she reflected, gazing with appreciation at the beauty surrounding her. She glided across the uneven, snow-covered ground, unhindered. A rabbit, sensing something unusual was in the forest, bolted across the wintry ground. The rabbit startled a young buck who stood frozen. The buck warily searched the surrounding area for any danger. A shiver caused his skin to ripple over taut muscles. I mean you no harm. She sent the calming waves of reassurance to the wild creature. The buck lifted his head and sniffed the air. Aikaterina materialized a few feet from the wary animal. She chose the same appearance that she used with the children of Valdier. It was a cross between the human form and the Valdier. Her complexion still had a touch of gold to it, making her skin exude a slight glow, as if she had spent a lot of time in the sun. Her hair was long, black as midnight, and fell like a curtain down her back. She wore a white gown, the same color as the surrounding landscape. A long white coat that touched the ground shielded her from the elements. You are a curious beast, she murmured, reaching out to stroke his forehead. The buck rubbed his head against her hand as if in agreement. Aikaterina felt the creature shiver under her touch. It was curious, but it was also in pain. Blood seeped from a wound near its right shoulder. She ran her hand over the area, disintegrating the bullet embedded in the muscle and healing the damage it had done. The beast looked at her with wide, curious eyes, as if trying to understand who or what she was. She sent another wave of comfort to the buck when he nudged her with his nose as if to thank her for her help. The snap of a branch sounded through the quiet forest, and the buck restlessly stepped back, turning his head toward the direction of the noise. Aikaterina knew about the hunter's presence from the moment she appeared. She lifted her hand, sending a flurry of snow swirling into the air. The whiteout concealed the buck as he escaped deeper into the woods. Bear Running Wolf lowered his head and shielded his eyes from the flurry of snow that suddenly blew up in a blinding veil of white. Crouching down, he studied the speckles of blood and the deer tracks in the snow that he had been following all afternoon with growing anger. As assistant ranch foreman for the Grove Ranch, he helped keep the ranch running smoothly and safely. Earlier, there had been 3 sets of tracks, 2 human and the one belonging to a large buck. He had dealt with the human ones, along with the help of the sheriff. Now he needed to see if he could help the buck. Regret filled him. He hoped the deer's wound was minor and it would heal. His biggest concern was that the wound would lead to a slow, agonizing death. He had just caught a glimpse of the buck when he stepped on a branch, buried under the layer of fresh snow. The loud snap made him wince. He looked up to see if the noise had startled the buck when the sudden swirl of snow obscured his view.